everybody, welcome back to the channel. Before we get started, just want to remind you to please subscribe to the channel. Please give me a thumbs up, share with your friends and enemies, and leave a comment down below. So let's get on with the video. Today we're going to talk about safety, but safety for how to use these right here correctly, my opinion. Okay, live with it. The reason why I do this, I'm going to talk about this, I'm going to give you a little bit of background, and that is that, you know, I spent about 10 years, even more, working with the Boy Scouts of America here in Europe, where I was also, well, even more than 10 years, I probably about 12 years. And then of course I was a scout growing up, served in the military, blah, blah, blah. Lots of work on the farm, and I've seen lots of accidents, okay? It seems that, you know, the methods I'm going to show you today are methods that I taught the Boy Scouts and the leaders of the Boy Scouts. We pass it on to the younger boys. And then we never had any accidents. The whole 10 years I was in, we never had any boys get in an accident with a knife or with an axe or with a saw. Okay, and yes, they used axes and they used saws, and of course they all carried a pocket knife on them. Okay, we're not going to get too much into the pocket knife today, but we're going to talk primarily about it's going to be the axe and the saw. Okay, and this is a bow saw, and this is a regular woodsman axe. It's not very long, and the reason why is because I carry it on camping and hike outs, that kind of stuff. So just a little bit, I took a Ray Mears course many years ago, about 18 years ago, and in the course we were not allowed to use an axe because I think for two reasons. Number one, they didn't want any accidents to happen, because it seems that, you know, mostly adults who get in trouble with axes. And then there are the problem with I guess they wanted to, when the part 2 of their course for basic bushcraft, they wanted to make a bit more money, I assume, and so they included, I guess, using an axe in the second part, and they had these methods. Okay, well, even the methods they were using in the course, I thought, you know, it's not the same. What are you going to use an axe for? You're going to use an axe maybe to fell a tree, maybe to cut or to buck a log, but you're mostly going to use it to split wood. Okay, and there are lots of ways to handle an axe. Okay, and the first thing, if you have an axe, make sure you have the right axe for the job. And most axes can split wood. There are methods you can use with axes to split wood, but make sure your axe is also sharp, because an axe that's not sharp is just basically a hammer. Okay, and it also goes, like my opinion, for a knife. A knife that's not sharp is basically a stick in your hand. Okay, and the same when it comes to a buck saw. Okay, it's useless. Okay, so what we're going to talk about first in these videos, I don't know if we're going to split this up or have this one long video, but we're going to talk about basically safety and using an axe safely so that you don't get in trouble with it. Okay, so the first thing is, how do you handle an axe? Well, if you're walking around with an axe, what you want to do is you want to carry it in this form in your right hand, where the blade's forward. Okay, by your hands like this right here. You don't want to carry it like this right here, and you sure as hell don't want to carry it like this right here. The best way to carry it is like this right here, so it's down by your side, and that's the way you carry it. Okay, keep the sheath over it if you have one. If you don't, make a sheath or buy something and put over the blade, because you're going to have it sharp. Okay, so you want to keep it in this kind of position right here, the hold like this right here, and what that does is it keeps the axe down low, so if you were to fall or trip, it can sort of go off to the side if you make it, and less likely to have where the red fern grows, which is a very famous story I read growing up. And the hardest part was when the boy fell on the axe head running, and it split his chest, and he died. And then of course that left an impression on me as a young man, and a young boy actually, and even today. So the last thing you want to see is someone fall on an axe and basically bleed out or whatever. Okay, so that's carrying it, that's transporting. If you carry it on your rucksack, I always carry it on my rucksack with the blade passing to the rear. Okay, and that way it's not up against my back like this right here. Okay, so I'll carry it on the sides of my rucksack, passing like that. I don't want that weight all the way to the far back, because it pulls on your shoulders, that kind of stuff. Or you can actually ruck with it and have it in your hand. Okay, but anyway, avoid carrying it or avoid running with it. Do not run with an axe. I think we all learned that growing up. Don't run with something pointy in your hands like scissors or axes or knives or whatever, even pencils. So just be aware of that and be careful of it. So that's basically transporting an axe. Make sure it's got the sheath on it, and make sure if you do carry in your rucksack, the blade's to the rear, or if you're in your hand, the blade is forward, okay? Because it's less likely if you were to fall to land on your leg or something like that, or injure you. You got to remember, in between your legs there, you have some main arteries there that you'll bleed out within 4 minutes, and there's no saving you. So you got to be very aware of that, okay? Even under your arms and around your neck. So just avoid that, okay? So before we get to using the axe, there are a few things that I recommend that you have on site. And I always have them on site anyway, because when I go hiking, I carry these. First of all, some protective type glasses, whether they be your reading glass or whatever, but something that keeps, if there's anything a splinter to shoot up into your face, is less likely to hit you in the eyes. So I wear my reading glasses while I use the axe to help protect me from that. They're not ballistic, but you know what? They're better than nothing, and I can see, okay? Or you can wear a pair of the ballistic style or protective type glasses you can buy in a garden shop, this kind of stuff. Another thing I always carry with me, and I carry some gloves, okay? Some work gloves. Doesn't matter what they are. All leather is probably better, but something that's going to help protect your hands, because you can get blisters from using your axe. You're not used to it, but also it's just that, you know, with the splinters, that kind of stuff, that can protect you. And the main thing to carry with you is a first aid kit. Make sure you have a first aid kit with you, just in case there's a bobo, there's an injury, and so you have that to protect you, okay? So if you ever notice guys who are working in the woods, in logging, this kind of stuff, they have a lot more protective gear than that. Not just the gloves, they have the pants, they have the helmet, they have the mask, or the glasses, this kind of stuff, and they have the right kind of shoes also. But in the method I'm going to show you today, you won't need any kind of special clothing, except for, like I said, you can and don't have to have a pair of gloves, but it's good to have them, and a good pair of safety glasses, and of course the first aid kit should always be with you. That's one thing in scouting that the boys learn before they even get to go camping. They have to learn first aid, and they got to earn that first aid merit badge is the first one. And we push that, okay? Now, of course, you have scouts, they're not gonna have that first aid qualification in the very beginning. They gotta build up to it. It's gonna take them a little while, but it's just one of those things, you know, that they have to learn before. That's their very first merit badge, at least back when I was a young scout. So, and you learn the basics of first aid. And it's quite good. You can get that same handbook right now. You can go buy one, and it's still loads of information in it that can help you if you're learning first aid. So anyway, hang in there. I'll be right back with you. I'm going to set up and show you how I use an axe. So welcome back. And one of the first things you notice is that I'm on my knees, okay? The reason why I'm on my knees, and you'll just become much, you'll be able to explain that a little better as we go along. But, you know, I'm down here lower because the reason why is because you're going to be using your axe like this, okay? Let me take this. First thing you need to do is you need to remove the sheath off of it, okay? You're going to be using your axe like this, okay? And if it's like this, it's less likely for you to slip off or move and cut yourself, okay? And that's the problem that a lot of people have. They're using their axe, it ricochets off, it moves off. You have it bounces off, and it comes down, and it hits you in the leg. Well, this right here, it's just impossible to hit yourself in the leg using this method right here. So what do? Is I set up my piece right here, my piece of wood like it's right here, okay? I am a good arm length away from it right here, and I come down and I can split. Now I'm using soft ground here because I don't have a stump right here that I can use, but there you go, okay? I was able to split it in half, okay? Another thing you can do is you can also just take your wood and set it like it's right here, okay? And you can hit the wood in the center mass, okay? And that can also split it. It's best to have something hard to put in, like a stump or another cut log or something like that to do it with. But the method that I use is I use on my knees, and I use basically the length of my arms to come down and to split the wood with. That's the safest method I have ever seen for splitting wood with an axe, and it's one that I highly recommend, even if you're an adult. Man, I'm gonna tell you a quick story. My buddy, whom I go camping with a lot, named Quentin, the first time I met him was on a camp out here on the Jura. That's been some years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. It was the winter time, beautiful time, actually. It was very cold out, but he was using a tomahawk, and I usually sit back and watch what a lot of people do, how they camp, and what they, how, all their methods, kind of stuff, because I can always pick up something new. But I warned him, be careful, because, everything was wet a little bit, and he could, miss and hit himself in the leg or whatever. And sure enough, I heard him cry out a little bit, and he had hit himself in the foot, split his boot open, and cut his toe. So I had to give him first aid right there on the spot. And it took a little while to heal up because your foot's not always that easy. But now he's much more, he's much more attentive now when it comes to splitting wood. And he uses the method that I showed him, I explained to him after that, and that was getting on your knees to split wood. So it's a really good method. I taught all the scouts this method. I teach all the adults this method. There's none of this standing up, and risking, missing and catching yourself in the leg. There's none of that, okay? So just be aware of that, and and you think about using the method that I just showed you on your knees, and it's pretty easy. So I'll be back with you for the next part. Take the gloves off here. So now we're going to get into bucking saws or bow saws or hand saws, this kind of stuff. And I use the same method for all of them. And the reason why is because it's going to save you from also injuring yourself. So this also comes in with the gloves. You want to put, I use a pair of gloves. That way when you're touching something less likely to get splinters, you don't want to, injure yourself while you're out and about. So I tend to wear gloves when I'm sawing and this kind of stuff. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to have to enable my bucking saw. This happens to be a Borea 24. I actually like this saw. I have several other saws. This right here is probably my favorite now. Very simple to put together, and there you go. The problem a lot of people have is they're sawing like this right here, and it can jump and catch you on the hand, okay? And that is not funny, especially when you got some teeth marks on your finger, your hand, that kind of stuff. So to avoid that, what I do is I actually put my hand through the saw, okay? Like so. So no matter what I do, it's impossible for myself for it to jump up and cut my hand, because if it jumps up, it's not going anywhere. So I can saw very easily like this right here. And this thing saws really well in the push and the pull. So there you go. Very simple method. It works for all the saws I've ever used. It's a really good method. The saw is not heavy, not too heavy, so your hand is between. You put your arm through the bow, okay, like so, and you're sawing from behind. So it's really unlikely that you're going to catch yourself. And I'm doing it on my knees, okay? I worked for many years as a landscape gardener, and the boss, he was trained at the school and this kind of stuff, and he used to get upset and ask me, why are you always on your knees working? I said, well, because it's less likely for me to hurt myself, and it's much more comfortable to work on my knees on the soft ground than it is to to be bent over all day, which is where you get in trouble and you get hurt, this kind of stuff. So anyway, very simple, huh? Two very simple methods of how to use an axe and a saw. Keep yourself. Another thing, if you have one of these bow saws that doesn't fold up, get yourself some water hose or some like that, and cut it, split it down the middle, and then you can wrap it around with anything from that the bread ties or a piece of wire or some plastic clips or whatever, and that way it keeps it safe. So when you do carry it, I look at it here. Luckily, this one here actually folds out very simply. I can take it, and it has the hollowed part of the handle, the blade pops into, and then it closes, and I can carry this sideways on my rucksack in one of the pockets on the outside. Same opposite side of my axe, and it's also protected, and I'm not going to hurt myself. Now, if you're carrying your saw in your hand, so you're walking around, you're bucking some stuff, and you're using your hand saw, okay? The method to use to carry your saw is very similar to your axe. You carry your saw in your hand like it's right here. Don't carry it like it's right here, because if you're swinging around, but carry it like it's right here. So if you do fall, you can get it out of the way, okay? And as you're moving around, it's less likely to catch your legs if you're carrying it this way here in the back of the bow. So that's another technique that I suggest. So anyway, there you go. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you got something from it, I appreciate it. Let me know down in the comment section. If you didn't, let me know down in the comment section. And I really thank you for coming and watching the videos on my channel. And don't forget, if you have any questions, let me know. And please, like I said, please share, subscribe, like, and leave a comment. And I'll talk to you very soon. And I hope you all have a pleasant day. And take care. Goodbye.